Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of That Fringe Show, brought to you by Ironclad Creative. We're an organization that brings together writers and theatre makers all across the world, and we provide creative catch-ups, writing spaces, acting classes, and more, both in real life and online. And we also bring the community together via the Ironclad Hub, a whole delightful, useful, and brilliant community in the palm of your phone where you can find each other, help each other, and support one another. And one of the things we also do is That Fringe Show, where we speak to people who are in any sort of fringe. At the moment, that's the Brighton Fringe 2023. And we are hurtling towards the end of that glorious event. And all throughout May, we've been speaking to all sorts of people and companies about their shows. Now, today we're in real time because we are speaking to Simon Topping and possibly also speaking to another company who actually at this moment are performing in the Prague Fringe, and so they may or may not be joining us as we get into the show, and we will welcome them if we can. But for now, all the pressure, delightfully, is on Simon Topping. Hello, how are you?
Hello, Andrew. How are you? I'm good. I'm very
I'm
good.
all right. How's your fringe been so far?
It's been a busy one. Yeah. I've already had I've already had 5 shows on. So yeah, we're well into it. Like you say, we're in the latter couple of weeks, aren't we?
Absolutely, and indeed, you literally have two separate types of shows going on. You've got well, you give me the titles of those shows and what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I've got a show called Extra Topping Comedy Showcase, which runs throughout the year, but in the Fringe we do 6 shows, and that's a show where we have 3 different acts on. They're all from the alt comedy world. So basically, anybody who's funny but you wouldn't call a regular stand-up, we have on. So musical comedy, improv, lots of character comedy, sketch. So we've got that show running. And I also do a show called Leslie Bloom Solves a Murder. Leslie Bloom's my drag character, and she hosts Extra Toppings, actually. But she also has this 1-hour show where we solve a murder together, us in the audience.
Fantastic. So and that let's dig into that. So it is partially scripted or structured and also improvised. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Well, my background's improv anyway. I've been doing improv for 10, 15 years. And the way that, I mean, I'm just saying this because I'm really rubbish at writing shows. So,
Okay.
so what I do is there's a structure in place for Leslie Bloom Solves a Murder. Obviously, the structure I wander you through the structure in a loose kind of way. There are some red herrings and surprises, blind alleys. And then we come to the denouement, at the end. So there is structure to it, but there's also a lot of space for audience participation and a bit of fun. And it makes it different every time I perform it.
I mean, that's a great review right there, isn't it? There is structure to it. There absolutely there is. I promise you, there is structure.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, if you come and see the show, you might not see where that structure is, but it's well hidden. But you hopefully you'll go away having a good fun time. It's my ethos for pretty much everything I do is make it as silly as possible.
And how long have you known Leslie Bloom? How long has she been part of your life?
Well, she's been there about 6 months. I used to do, and I still do, a short comedy bit where I go on stage and play some music, and I create an exercise class with people. I ask for different suggestions about, who's the class for, and we do some moves together. Then I get a member of the audience up, and I was doing this bit quite regularly, and she just appeared. The character actually just appeared when I was doing it. I just thought, this is Leslie Bloom. And then now I'm just sort of I've taken her out to host Extra Topping and now she's out on her own show. She's sort of started off in that little limited capacity,
Yeah,
and now she's blossomed. She's bloomed.
she's bloomed. There we go. Fantastic. And yes, so she's a host of Extra Topping, which we'll speak about again in a moment.
Yeah.
And that might have been her natural home, but now she's going full Jessica Fletcher and solving murders. What sort of, where do you think? I mean, obviously she's multi-talented and multifaceted, but does she have a comfort zone? Is she more at ease hosting a comedy night, or is she more at ease solving murders?
Well, I think she could do anything. She's the type of person that just turns a hat, no nonsense. She turn a hand to any environment. She loves to host, and being in the murder scenario, she just sort of throws herself into anything. I really think that she could do tours. I'd love to do a Leslie Bloom tour of Brighton, because I've lived here for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know Brighton pretty well, but I think Leslie could take a Brighton tour to another level.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's her bag.
And you've been, as you say, you've been in Brighton for 20 years or so. And Extra Toppings actually runs throughout the year. It's not just the Fringe. And so that gives you access, or gets you the chance to meet all manner of acts and talent inside the Brighton arena. Are we a healthy comedy scene in Brighton? Are we vibrant? Are we exciting?
Yeah, do you know what? I think we are. I think there's a lot. The reason why I set it up, and the Extra Toppings now just over a year old, where we celebrated our first anniversary in April, it was that there's a lot of space for stand-ups. There really is. I think we've got a really healthy stand-up scene. There's a lot of nights on throughout the week. Pretty much every night of the week, you can go to a stand-up kind of open mic or a local show, but not so much with what I think. And I know alternatives kind of it's a funny phrase, isn't it? You know, I don't quite know what it encompasses, but for me, it's everything outside of that world, really. If you're funny, but you don't feel like you quite fit in to that kind of performance style. So I set that up particularly for that, so that there'd be a space for those acts. And there were a number of people like slowly now coming in. But I do get a lot of people coming down from London, you know, because I think it's a smaller community than the stand-up world, really. But there are quite a few people out and about, and I'm trying to cross mix with the cabaret world as well now. You know, try and get more of those people into the Extra Topping sort of nights as well.
Yeah, and so for you, it's about providing that platform for those acts who might not necessarily have an opportunity to show their talent at other nights.
Yeah, there are some open mics that, you know, I think they welcome those acts in.
Yeah.
But you are against the grain.
Yeah.
When you're in there. So it's nice to just have somewhere where everyone's a bit weird, really.
Yeah.
You know, and for that to be celebrated.
Yeah.
In a supportive environment, you know, so that people can try literally anything out that they want to do. Like one of our shows, we had Pig Elvis. So we had an act called Ollie West, who just was dressed up as Elvis in a jumpsuit, but crossed with a pig.
Yes.
He basically just he ate an apple. He got fed an apple, you know. So he's singing Elvis tunes and eating apples, you know. So it's nice to have a space where you can, you know, platform that, you know.
And, you know, have a genuinely unique, you know, the morning after, people are going to be in the office chatting and going, "Oh, what did you do last night?" And they go, "Well, what I saw last night," and go into a whole 6-minute sort of speech about exactly what the hell they saw that previous night.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and it's good that you can have and there's what I try and do is have a real mix of people on. So you'll maybe have a character comedian like that who's kind of way out there, but you might also have improv on So
Yeah.
I'm a real big supporter of the improv scene, and there's a good improv scene in Brighton.
Yeah, there is.
So I like to get a lot of local improvers on and their groups. In fact, we've got Tea and Toast on this weekend, who are a local improv group. And I also like to mix it with music and, you know, everything. Just throw the whole mix in so that when you come, you get a good slice of different styles and different, you know, different things that people can do outside of stand-up, you know.
Yeah, and as you say, you've got your Tea and Toast, etc., lined up for the next couple of the next show, and I imagine you've got the slots filled for the rest of the Fringe shows. But Extra Shoppings goes on throughout the year. Are there any types of act? Are there any sort of things like, I don't know, exotic clowning? I don't even know what exotic clowning means. That's just a phrase I've just made up, and it could well be it may. If I Google it, I may well be dismayed by whatever I find. But is there anything that you go, oh, we don't have enough of that yet, or I really want to explore that, or I want to invite this sort of thing on?
Yeah, do you know what? I've had a lot of clowns on. I don't know how exotic they are, but I've had a lot of clowns on. I've been lucky to have like Malcolm Hardy award winners for comedy originality, like Julie Masley we've had on, and Elf Lions, like people that if you're in that alt world, you'll know the names, you know.
Yes.
Lona Treen, who's a double Funny Women Award winner, you know. So I've had those lovely character comedy people on. What I don't see of that much is sketch, really. I think it sort of fell out of favor. I think it's kind of coming back a bit, but and I have had some good sketch people on. I had a group called Siblings on, and I've had several other people. But sketch doesn't seem to be as popular. There's a lot of character comedy out there, which is great, and improv. I always have improv on, and musical comedy. I seem to have quite a lot of like musical comedy on, which is really nice. But yeah, sketch not so much.
Yeah, I think sketch. I mean, I could get distracted by for a full hour about sketch comedy. I think sketch comedy is one of the most difficult things to get right. I think it's not to sort of devalue all the other art forms, but I think there's something really sort of a little alchemy about getting sketch comedy right. And so I can imagine that it's currently more difficult to find sketch groups to sort of like share their wares.
Yeah. I think it's difficult. It's not being pushed as much, and even they do a national sketch off competition. And the people who win that are end up being character comedians rather than sketch. So even in those parameters, there's less sketch, you know. I don't know.
And in terms of, we spoke about things that you'd want to see more of, and you're clearly sort of multi-talented in the way that you're platforming these artists, and you're finding a platform for Leslie Bloom herself. What's your, I mean, you may not have one to put pressure on this unprepared question for you, but what's your next thing to tick off the list of boxes?
What, in the sense of what do I want to do? Or
what's next?
That is an interesting question. I think as far as like Extra Topping goes, I really want to continue to put those old comedians at the forefront. So I was thinking about setting up a competition, like to encourage people to come in and really promote alt comedy, because having seen the sketch comedy competition that didn't have so many sketch groups in, it's just nice to have a place for people to come down. And I really want to try and find Brighton and Hove based acts as well, because I know we're quite a small city, really, so you wouldn't expect maybe as many, definitely not as many as London, but I'd really like to promote local acts, you know, Brighton and surrounding areas if possible, because like I say, a lot of my acts come from London, which is great, and I love to have them on. I always love to have them on. But it's really nice to try and create a small community of Brighton or local based, you know, southeast based alt comedy would be lovely. I started doing a weekly kind of tryout night called Power Corners, which we did for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just maybe we'll develop that a bit more and see if I can. Might not stay in the same format. It might not be weekly, but I will really try and push that as a way to encourage local people to come down and just try out something a bit different.
And that sounds really exciting. And that idea, not even just of the end product or the work in progress, but that idea of the community coming together and supporting one another and finding each other. I'm going to again throw an unprepared question at you, but I imagine that you've got like a social media presence that we can like follow you on and find out about the things that are going on throughout the year, not just the Fringe, but throughout the year. Do you have handles and stuff like that?
Yeah, do you know what? This is the thing that I've had to. When I wasn't doing any promoting, I was on nothing.
Yeah.
I was on nothing because I was like, it is a double-edged sword, isn't it? Social media, but it's a good way to keep in contact with people. So I've come back on. I've embraced it a bit more. On Instagram, it's Extra Topping Comedy. So I'm all over the place with my handles. There's no continuity.
Fantastic.
So
it's like a whole choose your own adventure thing. You know, we have to put the work in to find you.
Yeah. On Facebook, I've got a group called the Alternative Comedy Community. So if you find the Alternative Comedy Community, I run that, and I think we've got a couple of hundred members on there now, which is lovely. And then on Twitter, I'm Simon P. Topping on Twitter. You see, the discontinuity continues, so I am there. But I also have the website, which is extratopping.co.uk, which you can find all my stuff on. So there is a place where you can find everything.
That makes absolute sense to me. There's you as an individual, there's an organization that you run, and there's a community that you're nurturing. That's absolutely logical. I'll buy into that totally.
Oh, great.
Absolutely. And on that note, let's give ourselves a reminder of the 2 different shows that you've got going on for the remainder of the Fringe. I'm going to just invite you to tell us what they're called, what they are, and where they are, and when. So let's go for Leslie Bloom first. Remind me about that.
So Leslie Bloom's a 1-hour show where we go with Leslie Bloom. We're at a neighborhood watch meeting together, and suddenly we find that somebody has been murdered. So and we go through that process of suspects, red herrings, and solving a murder together. So that's an hour show. That's on this Sunday, the 28th at 6:45 at the Presuming Eds in just off London Road.
That's right, yeah.
That's that one. And then the other show that I have on is called Extra Topping. That's on this Friday and Saturday at 9 p.m. And during the Fringe, they run for an hour as well, 9 till 10. And that's 3 alternative acts on per night, which Leslie Bloom hosts. So you'll get a different flavour. Like this weekend, we've got Kathy Maniera, who's a character comedian, and she set up a group called The Horses in London. Liam Harney, who does a character called Sue the Cleaner and gives you cost of living tips, and Christian Jeggard, who's Brighton-based musical comedian who's just was the runner-up at the Musical Comedy Awards, and it was the crowd favourite there as well. So we've got some great acts, a very mix of people. And then on Saturday we've got Tea and Toast, who are a local improv group, who are brilliant. We've got a guy called Alan Shaw who does a music act called The Ledge.
Yeah.
So another musical act, and we've also got a character comedian called Sam Jacobson who's got a show on in the Fringe. So it's a real mix of stuff, and that's at the Poets Corner over in Hove.
Fantastic, excellent. And that's essentially all that we have to chat about, son. That's been a fantastic speaking to you. And what's really exciting about that, because sometimes when we are speaking to people in the Fringe, they are visitors to Brighton and they're passing through it. So it's so exciting to sort of speak to you and know that you'll be a presence in Brighton and a presence for the Brighton's alt comedy society and community throughout the year. It's really exciting and genuinely quite valuable what you're doing. So it's really lovely to hear all that.
We are on every third Saturday of the month outside of the Fringe. So
beautiful. And is that again at the Poets Corner?
That's at the Poets Corner upstairs. Yeah. It's run by Sweet Venues, who have very supportive production all year round and in the Fringe.
Brilliant. Well done to them and well done to you. It's been gorgeous speaking to you. And this is where we like smile and wave at our appreciative audience. Remember, appreciative audience, hello, and goodbye. Remember that all the links for the shows that we're speaking about will be behind, yeah, why not behind, but also below this post that we'll be sharing out, and you'll see links to the shows and for the Ironclad Hub, etc. But for now, goodbye from Ironclad Creative, goodbye from Simon, and have a fantastic Fringe. Goodbye, take care.
Bye. Goodbye.